And Tucsonans are having a hard time getting a hold of the police department.
That's right. The problem is with 911 and the non-emergency lines. News 4 Tucson Sam Salzwedel has tonight's investigation.
We are closely following the problems with police communications. We broke the story that people are regularly put on long holds at 911. Earlier this month, we got a chance to go directly to the chief to talk about those issues.
You certainly heard a lot of the reports, which are accurate, that our staffing is very low.
Tucson Police Chief Chris Magnus says the solution to a lot of problems comes from the community.
Yeah, I'm very clear on it. Our response time is not ideal.
Sarah Sobalski is having problems with abandoned city-owned houses attracting crime.
I'm now fortunate enough to have officers that I'm working with directly on this problem, yes.
Otherwise,
I'd still be going through the frustration of dealing with dispatch at 911.
That's community policing, people building relationships with the police. But police not answering the phone is a problem the News 4 Tucson investigators have been exposing.
It rang and rang and rang, and then it hung up. And I called 5 times and it just kept hanging up. So when I called non-emergency again to check in, they told me just to dial 911.
Please try your call again soon. Thank you.
There are calls, non-emergency call lines that have dead-ended. They don't, or they circle people back in ways that are not helpful. Frankly, very frustrating.
Please call again. Thank you. Goodbye.
How can community policing work if nobody's answering the phone?
Well, I don't think that it is the case that nobody's answering the phone. I think it is true that there are delays that are longer than what we'd like right now.
You have reached the Tucson Police Department's Emergency Communications Call Center. Stay on the line for the next available emergency call taker.
In January, about 22% of police calls waited more than 1 minute. In February, that number climbed to 31%. In March, the number was 29%. How dangerous are the 911 wait times right now?
I don't think they're necessarily that different from many other cities our size.
Less than 1% of the most dangerous calls are transferred to the priority queue. Even some of those are not being answered immediately. In January, 20 priority calls waited more than 1 minute. In February, 7 waited more than 1 minute. In March, 8 priority calls waited more than 1 minute. How long can a 911 call be before it's considered a dangerous wait?
I don't know that there's an exact answer to that. Different calls are for different types of problems.
On March 11th, a 911 caller waited 13 minutes and 22 seconds for police to answer the phone. On March 9th, a caller held for 16 minutes and 18 seconds. And on March 10th, an emergency took police 17 minutes and 1 second to even answer the phone. Should people call 911 with a crime tip in a non-emergency situation?
I don't think that's helpful. I think 88 Crime as a way to make a crime tip is probably the best resource.
That's a nonprofit that's not run by the city government. Should you be putting more pressure on the mayor and council and city manager for more resources?
Well, I think we are trying to educate them about what the problems are, and they have been willing to look at this.
Magnus says the department's entirely re-examining the non-emergency phone system, and he says 911 is making progress. The city council restructured the system back in December.
They are aware, and they are concerned, and they are putting resources towards the problem. Could we use more? Yeah, no question, but there's so many competing needs in the city. That's one of the challenges.
Coming up next week, we reach out to all 6 city council members to see what they're doing about this problem. If you have a story you'd like us to investigate, email investigators@kvoa.com or call 955-4444. Investigating for you, Sam Salzwedel, News 4 Tucson.